What's going on, everybody? Got to talk a little Suns, as it was a pretty big day over there in Phoenix, getting a chance to introduce their rookie class. And there was one man in attendance for us right there, Ben. Ben, how you doing tonight, man?
All doing great. How you doing?
I'm living. I'm living well. It's been a wild couple of weeks here for the Suns, and it just continues to be one thing after another. But at least for today, some good thoughts, some good moments over here for Suns fans. They get a chance to meet this rookie class that I think is pretty talented. Like I like what they did with the draft outside of the trade. Like I don't understand the Mark Williams trade at all with this draft, but the draft itself, I thought they did pretty well. And there's three guys that they bring in that certainly two or possibly even Kobe can jump in there and kind of have an impact for them this year too. So they got some guys that'll be able to help them kind of start this new era that the Suns are definitely going into.
Definitely.
Kind of takeaways, I guess, from the initial press conference to introduce him. First one, again, for me, Brian Gregory he doesn't bring a lot of inspiration and energy in a lot of his speeches.
No.
Even I've never listened to one of his pressers yet and been like, man, that guy is a public speaker. He comes out and gets it. And again, the intro on him, it's such a minor part of his job, but for the the presser, and that'd be the piece. I was like, all right, like someone get this guy a cup of coffee and something to like hype up the situation, but
little caffeine in his system.
Just give him some juice to kind of kick it off, man. You put together a good class, so I mean that's what really matters much more than kind of the press conference there. But the big jam for him is Mon Malawach coming out of Duke, a guy that most people had potentially as a top 5 pick in the draft, a guy that had that kind of talent, that kind of upside, who's just getting into basketball. And you saw how much better he got from the start of the season at Duke to the end of it. And not terrible, not a lot of crazy stuff that he said during kind of the intro presser, but I think what I was really impressed with is what carried over what we all saw during the draft when he was just in tears after he got picked of how much this means to him, how authentic it is. And he talks about how like he just wants to be the gym and find a role and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He has incredible high character. And I think that is one of the best things about this pick is that you're getting a guy that is going to value this opportunity and put in the work. And this was another moment that I think reassured that to me.
Yeah, and talking about centers with their attitude. DeAndre didn't really have the best attitude, so I think it's a little bit refreshing that he's coming in with a moving story and just So funny enough, we were talking about Brian Gregory. Brian Gregory was talking about come on and was saying how he was number 1 on their list, and when he didn't go 8th and 9th, that room was celebrating a lot. And so the Suns got their guy. I think it's something that they needed. I know you were talking about Mark Williams too. I think he's going to be able to learn a lot from Mark Williams. I think there's a type of mentality that he brings, kind of that Dylan Brooks hard-nosed defensive mentality that you kind of just got to learn along the way. And as a rookie, and he's very big. If he learns that kind of defensive play style, he could be dangerous. Yeah, I think the few things that I think all three of these guys, but especially Kaman was talking about was they recognize that time is going to be a big factor with them. And the development, learning how to be a pro day in and day out. It's not just going to be a 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year type of deal. They're going to enjoy the journey. They know what they want the destination to be. But it's they're going to enjoy this process every step of the way. What Brian Gregory was talking about though was his character and what it means to them to not only be a part of the NBA but to be a part of the Phoenix Suns. And I think today with the kind of the sophomores of the group with Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro and also Colin Gillespie showing up today, it kind of goes to show that this is what the Suns are trying to build, this culture that they're showing up for you guys because they're gonna show up for them. So
yeah, I loved seeing some of those guys there. Notable absence I felt like, of Devin Booker. I don't know what he's got going on in his agenda and everything like that, but the
Why Sam Brady?
it could have helped to have had him there as well if he was in town. Maybe he's out doing something. You know, it is summertime. A lot of these guys try and get away, find camps, do whatnot. But like
Get out of the heat.
franchise, it would help if he was there also. I think at this point, especially with as tumultuous as the rest of the offseason has been with KD and now with the the Bradley Beal situation, umbrella on top of it and everything else. I'm interested. I loved hearing that about Malawach wanting to get in the gym and continue to work and stuff because, but let's not get it twisted. Suns fans shouldn't let. This is a bit of a project. This is a guy that is new to basketball, and there were times, even at the end of the season, where he became a little bit unplayable for Duke because he was so limited offensively outside of catching lobs and rebounds and stuff like that. But it was also one of those situations where it's like you could see the potential and would erase shots around the rim and you would be able to get some rebounds. And it was, you could see it coming. It's not there all the way yet. It's far from all the way there right now.
Yeah.
But I think you got to love the potential of this guy. And like you said, because he has that work ethic, is almost the complete opposite of what Ayton had coming in, where it was like, this guy can rim run if he needs to. He's got a soft touch. He can shoot the 15-footer. And the question, which ended up being kind of the problem for him at this point in his career, was the work ethic. So I think tentatively, Suns fans need to understand it's going to take him a minute to kind of really, a couple years, I think, to get to that point. But he's got that work ethic. So I don't think it's something that, fans should be concerned about.
I think you saw a lot with DeAndre Ayton that he was able to learn, from Chris Paul, but there was an attitude issue there. I think Kaman is going to find himself being able to learn a lot more because he has that great attitude. He's one of those guys that he's not going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to be a sponge. He's going to be, listening more than speaking, and you kind of could sense that. But yeah, Suns fans, they're going to have to understand that this is not a night and day thing. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to see some issues. These guys are going to be rookies at the end of the day. With everything that the Suns have went through with Nurkic and Nick Richards and just trying to find an answer, at the 5, it's been so hard for them to end up at the end of this draft with Mark Williams and Malawach coming. It's a win for the Phoenix Suns going into this next season for sure.
Doesn't it feel like everybody in the West somehow went and got size right now?
Oh yeah,
I don't know what happened, but everywhere I look, the Clippers go out and get Brook Lopez, and then they, if depending on if it happens or not, the Nuggets get Valanciunas. Like, it just feels like
Ayton to the Lakers, and
people are stockpiling size out of nowhere all of a sudden, and the Clippers also got the center from Utah just recently in a trade.
That's right.
I don't know what's going on all of a sudden, but the resurgence of the big seems to be a thing going on in the NBA. So good news for Phoenix that they, are on that as well, because they needed some size, and that was really evident, obviously towards the end of last season.
There were a lot of people online that were talking about this draft and how the Suns nailed this draft. And, not just with Kaman Malawach, but with Rasheer Fleming and Kobe Brea as well, and the trades they made. I think they are a couple pieces away. You got to fix the point guard issue. But as one of the biggest issues right now, as the center position, you got two guys who have a lot of talent, have really high ceilings, and they're very young. So Mark Williams is still really young too. So I think it's going to be a fun duo to watch, definitely, to see how he learns from Mark Williams as well. And, you had a guy like Chris Paul with DeAndre Ayton to help his growth, because he's kind of you're going to have to sit down and listen.
The growth, these guys too. Who knows?
Now, I would love that, but I do think guys like Dylan Brooks, I think Devin Booker, I think Jalen, because when Kevin Durant was here, Kevin Durant's not that going to yell at you, tell you what to do. He's going to say, this is what I need to do to succeed. And this is what, and Booker's kind of the same way, but Booker will be that guy if he has that right hand, like a Chris Paul. If Chris Paul's saying it, Booker's like, "Yep, I'm in with it." So if you have a Dylan Brooks and have a Jalen Green who's gonna, hey, teach him from time to time, be like, "Hey, no, you're kind of doing this. You're almost there. You're almost there." You know what I mean? And so day in, day out, Malawak is not gonna get up in his arms or get in his feelings about it. He goes, "I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow." And I think the Suns, all of them know the potential that he has.
Yeah. Then they go out and get Rasheer Fleming, a 3 slasher. I think he fits well, not just in that pick in that draft where they were able to get him, but they don't have a lot of guys like that on the roster that can do what he can do there. And so there's a reason that he wasn't, in the front part of the first draft or the first round. He's going to need to develop a more consistent jumper. There's certain things he's going to be a little bit limited on offensively, but when you can find a guy like that can mix it up, can guard a bunch of different positions that can give you that kind of versatility.
Hard-nosed.
The 3-and-D guy is still very valuable in this league. And while maybe the three isn't quite there yet, he's able to at least slash and do some things offensively. I kind of like that addition. And he acknowledged a lot of that too in the intro, saying that, I need to work on getting a little bit better on the outside shot and stuff like that. And I think the self-awareness piece is there for him that can end up being a solid addition for them as well.
The thing that stood out for me in that press conference listening today was Brian Gregory was talking about how much Fleming can help the Suns with his work ethic. He said, even though it's been just, starting up the training camp for the Summer League, that he's one of the first one in, the last one's out. Very hard-nosed, very hardworking, and kind of takes pride in his craft. He talked about how he kind of realized his NBA dream was his sophomore going into his junior year. And,
cool.
that was very, it's touching when you kind of hear their stories and get a little bit more of insight of who they are as people. But yeah, I remember he said he just wanted to be consistent. He wanted to be an everyday guy and bring energy. I think that's exactly what they need from these rookies right now. If those rookies are coming in and bringing that energy, if they're doing it, then everyone else has got to do it too. So, I think that he's got a great head on his shoulders. I think it's only up for these guys. But Fleming is one of those guys. When I heard that the Suns were going to be trading up, I was elated to hear it, because I think the Suns, really are showing that they're trying to address through the draft. I think Brian Gregory realized that they've had GMs in the past that have made mistakes in the draft, and he doesn't want to be one of those GMs. And so I think if you can hit on something, I mean, you look at Ryan Dunn, you look at Oso Ighodaro, these guys are going to be pieces for the Suns. So if you could keep building through the draft and even making trades in the draft and building this team up the right way, you just saw with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they had depth. You need depth, really good pieces. And I think the Suns are just trying to find that right now.
It would help if they had a lot more of their first round picks left, but
yeah,
you got to work with what you got right now. And
yeah,
pretty much. And then the last guy, Kobe Ray, who's, I think, we just said that, in this league, anyone will take someone that can play a little 3-and-D. You're also going to take anyone that can stretch the court, like especially in modern day NBA. If you can shoot consistently and just guard a little bit, there's going to be space for you on a team. And I like the fact that he's not like a 6'2" guy that could shoot. Like, he's got some size to him, and he's a guy that was the best shooter in college basketball for the last few years. And you had a nice little exchange with him, asking him kind of about how he feels like he'll be able to kind of continue that, and how his skill set kind of works here with the Suns.
Yeah, it was really cool getting a chance to ask him a question. Kind of the main thing that I wanted to figure out was what he thought and how he thought he's one of the most spectacular 3-point shooting guards. I mean, the college basketball has seen in recent years. And so I just kind of wanted to figure out how he thought his shooting skills were going to translate into the NBA and how he could grow with the Suns. And gave a really great answer about 30 seconds to a minute. Was just talking about how he thinks that he knows that this team's got a lot of talent and eyes are going to be on other guys. They're going to be on Jalen Green. They're going to be on Devin Booker, and he's going to have opportunities to find his shots and just not be scared to focus on his craft. I think he talked about Fleming and Moloch and the work ethic that they're putting in, and they kind of want to do this together and show that they're going to grow together. But he was one of those guys that kind of was more so embracing the journey as well. Just saying, this is a step-by-step process. But very, very excited to know that he will get his opportunities. The Suns could use a 3-point sniper right now, especially, someone young, someone that they could grow with. And he seemed very humble, seemed like he was just ready to get to work. Very, very excited. Very excited. Some guys, you can tell they just might be going through the motions or just, ready to, you could tell he was pumped up in more ways than one.
You talk about finding the role too. Like that was one of the sound bites from Malawak that really stood out to me in when he was asked about his role basically and kind of like finding it. And he said, like, I'm just trying to find a way to contribute, whether that's with the ball, without. He's like, there's going to be so much spacing in modern day NBA and stuff like that. And he's like, you just got to find a way that you can make a positive impact. And I was like, that is for your top 10 pick, a first round guy to say, I'm just trying to find a way to get out there and help the team essentially. Like that's an incredible mindset to have versus whether it's entitlement or we're feeling like these guys that are going to come in and immediately just be like, oh, like I know my game. I know why they got me here. Like, just be like, no, like I'm going to find what I could do to help. And like, that was the impression that I got from these three guys, that it was just like, I know I have certain skill sets, but I'm more interested in just trying to get on the court by finding ways that I can help out this team, which is
and that's building this culture with that Brian Gregory and Jordan Ott are preaching, and they're pretty much saying this isn't a rebuild, this is a retool, and we have pieces of the puzzle that we know that can get us to where we want to be. We're just trying to follow a formula that seems to be working by getting depth, by getting good, talented depth. And like I said, when we talked about earlier, Ryan Dunn and Osogadoro and Colin Gillespie coming, these guys who are going to be a part of this are pretty much kind of talking to him and saying, hey, we're doing the same thing here. We bought in last year. We're buying in now, and we're here riding with you guys. We're the sophomores, you're the freshmen coming in. Like, this is the rookies get to learn from it. I love it. You know what I mean? And so these guys are going to get their first year. I think they're going to get a lot of opportunities with the Suns, but I just think if they can buy in with this culture and understand what the Suns are trying to do, then they have all the opportunities in the world. I think chemistry is going to be, you're going to see a lot of chemistry between these guys sooner rather than later. It's one of those things where I truly can anticipate how these three are going to probably light it up at times for the Suns. We still don't know, I guess, what the lineups are going to look like. I mean,
he's a lot more optimistic than me, because part of just is the assumption that there is a plan for the Suns right now. And I'm not entirely convinced they know exactly what they want to do at this point on a lot of the things. And so I'm not fully sold on the future portion of it right now, but I do like this draft picks. The Mark Williams, again, that's giving up a future first round pick for a guy that's only got 2 years left.
Yeah.
Be at the same position of a guy that you just drafted top 10. I don't know what we're doing. And it's a guy that, I mean, you talked about the work ethic that people had questions with Ayton. That was a big thing that was rumored as to part of the reason why the Lakers nixed the deal with him, was that he has a reputation of a guy that was more interested in his own stats and kind of took plays off on when he didn't think he was going to be there, or like it wasn't for him. So, I mean, that's just part of a reputation. It's also in Charlotte at the time. So, like, there's a lot of guys that careers go to die in Charlotte. So maybe you get a simple week in there. But some of the moves I'm still kind of confused with on the bigger picture. But again, as I said in the very beginning of this pod, that's all for another day. For today, we can at least be happy about this draft
Yeah.
and kind of what we saw.
Trending in the right direction. They're trending in the right direction. People say it was a win, and
It was a win.
yeah, and that's the whole thing. You got a new coach. You don't know how this is going to go. I know Booker's going to be a leader. I know Dylan Brooks is going to be very vocal. I know Jalen Green's going to get his. And but these guys are going to come in, and I'm excited to see how they're going to be utilized. It's going to be really interesting. If he's going to be able to just get these rebounds and just kick it out to Booker, kick it out to Green, or whoever is the starting point. If it's Gillespie's going to get a lot of playing time, or Kobe Brea is going to get some 3-point opportunities, and watching Rasheer Fleming, I think Fleming's going to get good. But when you talk about Ryan Deninoso-Godoro, you have a lot of pieces of the puzzle here, and it's going to be interesting to see what head coach Jordan Ott is going to end up doing. I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns roster makes some more additions here before the season starts. So that's something to look out for too. But it's
being the starting point guard. What a career arc he has had to kind of earn that opportunity.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anyone would have expected that a couple years back, that but he has worked and worked and worked, and at least given himself an opportunity that he might be the starting point guard. Suns, which is something. You talked a little bit about kind of the culture they're trying to put in place, and we got to see that at the end of the presser too. Like the fact that it's not just getting guys that are going to work hard, but there's a real sense of this wants to be like they want to be the team for the Valley. Like they want to connect with Phoenix, and having these guys that just got drafted, having some fun with some kids and playing stuff like that.
Exactly.
Also really cool scene there at the end of the presser.
And it was the whole idea of it. They could have had this press conference anywhere, could have had it, at the team building, but they decided to do it at the Scottsdale YMCA and do it with the Junior Suns. And they had all the players come out. They had the gorilla, they had the cheerleaders, and all the kids were cheering for them when they ran out to the stage, and they were high-fiving all the kids. And they actually got to let the kids sit on the floor during the press conference. So that was really cool. Usually something that you don't get to see a lot. And so you're inspiring a new generation of kids who, want to be an athlete or want to be a coach or a GM or even a part of the media or a photographer. It's something that kids don't usually get to see. But not only that, after the press conference, they took time to do a couple of basketball drills and a couple games. And it wasn't just the draft picks. It was Ryan Dunn. It was also Godoro, it was Connor Gillespie, and it wasn't, just going through the motions. They were having a blast out there with these kids. Putting smiles on faces was just one of the things they were doing. And Ryan Dunn was having a little bit more fun. There was a clip that Dwayne Rankin from the Arizona Republic posted, and just gets Ryan Dunn just absolutely just stacks this kid. I mean, just looks like Dikembe Mutombo coming up on him. And the kid wasn't even mad. He was just so eye gaze, just starstruck at Ryan Dunn. Just, oh my God. So that was a really cool scene. Maluak was there hanging out with all the kids and shooting free throws with them. And at the end, they all got together and did a whole thank you to the Suns. And you could tell it was, for their first press conference introduction to the Suns, and you get to hang out with the Junior Suns and meet some of the kids from the Valley. That's exactly what the Phoenix Suns are all about. And I think that's what they've strived to be over the last, decade, truly kind of grown more with the Valley. You can tell once Matt Ishbia has come in, he's been relentlessly striving to connect, and in so many ways, more than one, whether it's lowering prices for a value meal or helping Devin Booker get some courts made, some basketball courts for the public made out in Phoenix. This is just one of those things where, and Brian Gregory's on board, Jordan Ott's on board, and that's how you build the culture. That's how you build this chemistry. I truly think it starts with, little things like this, because, it helps you grow with not just, your franchise, but with your teammates, helps you bond and grows with the city as well.
Yeah, I think there was a lot made about the disconnect and some of the culture problems going on last year, whether it was Coach Bud not being able to kind of connect with it, or if it was the lingering guys kind of moving in and out of the lineup and what's going on. A lot was made of it. One of the things that always came out of it, though, was that the rookie class last year really had a really good mindset, and we're still really trying to get after it on defense. They never seem to kind of lose sight of wanting to get better and play hard, while maybe that message didn't always resonate with some of the older guys. But I think now you add in another rookie class that seems to have that same energy, and now you have back-to-back years of guys that are going to be playing substantial minutes, and it does feel like the culture is kind of shifting from where it was a couple of years ago and last year, where there was some disconnect, to now this like they just infused a lot of new blood and a lot of new guys that have the right mindset, I feel like. So I think the culture that's the big takeaway, I think, from today. It looks like the culture is starting to head back in the right direction. With
110%.
Like, that's hard to put a price on. You can look at a lot of teams that are incredibly talented with bad culture and they do nothing. And then you can see teams, you just saw two teams, and not to say that the Thunder and that the Pacers weren't incredibly talented, because they both have some talented players. But you look at the Pacers, and for them to make the NBA Finals is pretty shocking when you look at just pure the talent.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes to show you how important and crucial real chemistry is, and how much having people bought into kind of the culture is. And it feels like the Suns are trending back in the right direction, which is great.
Those games during the 2021 NBA Finals run were very, very loud. And it was more than loud. I mean, your feet were vibrating. You'd feel a stadium might collapse on you. That's what the Suns, I think, are trying to get back to. I think they're trying to get back to
that much.
Yeah, well,
drastically different last year, but yeah, I think
110%. And but yeah, like you said, even if some of the veterans this past season weren't giving it 110%, you could tell the young guys on this team were. You could tell that they were buying in. And I think when they're optimistic and you can see that they want this to work and they are putting in the time and putting in the effort, and it's not just, they're saying, hey, we're not just talking about it, we're going to be about it, and it's going to take some time, but we're here to make this work. I think that's all the Suns can do right now.
Yeah. Well, there are a number of moves left to happen here, I think, for the Suns this offseason. We'll wait and see if
I have a feeling we're going to be doing another one of these pretty soon.
Like this. Chris Paul is going to make his decision one way or another here pretty soon. The Bradley Beal situation. There's a few more big dominoes left to fall.
Yep,
this was, if nothing else, this was, I think, a good day for the Suns, and a day that should get, Phoenix fans kind of encouraged about where this team is headed. So good stuff. I really appreciate it, Ben.
No, thank you guys so much. I had a lot of fun.